Hello and welcome to the December edition of Inside Presence. It's hard to believe that another year is about to come to an end. Here's hoping that all of you that are living in the States had a great Thanksgiving with your families and are looking forward to the holidays coming in December. And for those of you that are in other countries, I hope that your holiday season is a fantastic season as well. A lot of excitement here at Presence because January will be the launch of our new website. And of course we've been very excited about that for some time. And we're relaunching the website because, as all of you know by now, there are a number of changes that we're going to make to the way that we approach our study of the biblical narrative. Now, what this means is that there will be, in some sense, a new language for all of us to learn, new terms for all of us to learn. And so the question is, why would we be going with an approach that requires a new way of looking at the same story? Well, for those of you that have been partners for many years, you know that has been the story of our growth. If we didn't look at the narrative in a different way to begin with, we all wouldn't be where we are right now. When you launch Presence website coming in January, you're going to see that the main components of it begin with something called integral theory. And integral theory is really going to be an article that explains the language and the terminology that we'll be using to take a different approach or a different look at the biblical narrative. And while integral theory is a lot of terms that are used by people in various fields of psychology or philosophy, and terms that don't necessarily apply to the narrative at all, nonetheless, what we're finding about the all-in-all God is that God is not limited just to the Bible exegesis versus the story of the narrative itself. God is all in all, which means that God's in the sciences, God is in education, God is in philosophy and psychology. And the more we integrate all the fields of our understanding on this planet, the more we'll be able to communicate with each other and synergize and find greater ways to find depth of meaning and richness of life. And that's what we're really looking to do with Presence. So as you read integral theory, you might be thinking, why is Presence going to all the trouble of talking about the way that humanity has developed from its earliest times in terms of culture and history and various viewpoints throughout the world? Well, this is because it's going to lead into a next section on the website that will be integral theology. And integral theology is what most of us have come from, meaning that we will really examine the biblical narrative from Genesis all the way through the book of Revelation. And we'll say, how does this compare with the development of humanity as we discussed in our first section on integral theory? But we won't leave it at just theology alone. Every one of us who have come to different understandings of the Scriptures over the years have always been in group studies or group fellowships where we then ask the question, what does this mean? In other words, we read the narrative, we say, well, I see it differently than I used to see it, but we always have to ask, so what? What does the difference make? And that's where we will go into our third section of the website, and it will be integral spirituality. And in integral spirituality, we will take the terms from integral theory, we'll take the maps of integral theory, we'll look at the maps of the biblical narrative and how that applies to our theology and our understanding and interpretation of that theology. And then we'll say, well, what difference would that make in terms of our personal spiritual walk with God? And it's in that area that, of course, we're most excited at Presence. Yeah, we like the idea of academic studies. We like the idea of different ways to see the same narrative. But the reason we're so passionate about those kinds of studies is because at the end of the day, and in the bottom line, it's got to affect our relationships. Now, I can tell you for the last many months, Danae and I have sat down over coffee, morning after morning, talking about this new way of seeing things. We talk about what it means to us personally, to our marriage. We talk about what it means to our kids. We talk of what it means to the spouses of the kids that are now married, and to children, and we actually have a grandchild on the way as well. So a lot of excitement in our home, and a lot of relationships in our home, just like in your home. And the question is, how do we grow in those relationships? How do we make this wonderful, fantastic existence on planet Earth richer, deeper, full of more peace, full of more joy and exhilaration? And that is the point of presence. Because the more I come to know God, the more I come to know all of those wonderful attributes that God is the source of: joy, peace, love, and kindness. It's a beautiful planet. It's a great way to live on the planet. And so we're excited to join with you in 2011 for yet another way of looking at this journey together. And as we come into the holidays, here's Danae and I and everyone at Presence, Tim and Dad and Mom and everyone, saying, have a great holiday season. We'll look forward to seeing you next year. Bye for now.